Regina, Mater misericordiae, vita dulcedo, estes nostra salve.
The Lord be with you. A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Matthew. While Jesus was speaking, an official came forward, knelt down before him and said, "My daughter has just died. But come, lay your hand on her, and she will live." Jesus rose and followed him, and so did his disciples. A woman suffering hemorrhages for 12 years came up behind him and touched the tassel on his cloak. She said to herself, "If only I can touch his cloak, I shall be cured." Jesus turned around and saw her and said, "Courage, daughter, your faith has saved you." And from that hour, the woman was cured. When Jesus arrived at the official's house and saw the flute players and the crowd who were making a commotion, he said, "Go away. The girl is not dead, but sleeping." And they ridiculed him. And when the crowd was put out, he came and took her by the hand, and the little girl arose. And news of this spread throughout all the land. The Gospel of the Lord.
As the responsorial psalm said, the Lord is gracious and merciful. And you see this so beautifully today in the scriptures, where Jesus allows access to himself to be given to three people who are considered what they call in the Jewish customs ritually unclean. They're untouchables. Nobody should be having contact with them. And like a rabbi, no one of this type should have access to him. The first person, of course, is the wife of Hosea. Now, not necessarily in proximity to Jesus here, but we can see she's allowed contact with God by him inviting her, Hosea's wife, to come to the desert and be isolated and alone with him. Can you imagine? Now, just a little background, Hosea's wife is a recovering prostitute who's not totally recovered. And she varies in her fidelity to her husband. And Hosea has to buy her back from her boss. He has to buy her back a few times and pay the price to get her back. And yet, this person who would be considered unclean and untouchable, Hosea becomes symbolic of God always reaching out incessantly to those he loves. And he loves us all. Some of us don't respond, however. And then you have this man he's considered ritually unclean because he has been in contact with a dead body, his daughter, and he shouldn't even be in public, and Jesus doesn't even flinch. Let's go see your daughter, not a problem. He just violates all the social norms and goes to this man and his daughter who would be considered untouchable. And then you have this hemorrhaging woman also because of the blood involved in her hemorrhage. She is considered ritually impure and shouldn't be in public and shouldn't be touched by anyone. And there she is. She touches Jesus' cloak and he doesn't even flinch. He just turns, he responds to her with love, and he gives her his healing. And then he goes to the little girl who has died, and he takes her by the hand. He shouldn't even be touching the body. He takes her by the hand and he heals her. He raises her. And so you see, Let's just put it this way. If you're having a day when you're thinking you're really unclean and you shouldn't even be in front of God, today is a day to get rid of that idea. And not to do that whimsically, but it's a day to seek God's mercy and appreciate the mercy He's constantly giving to us. It's also a day to look upon those who could be considered untouchable and see them through the eyes of the mercy of Jesus Christ.
Regina Celi, letare, alleluia, qui aquae